hello out there. This is a call from the Vortex. Hello. I'm Matt from the Vortex. Hello. That would be Taylor from the Vortex.
Yes, and the other one speaking is Matt from the Vortex.
Yay!
Woohoo!
It's me!
We know each other's names!
That's as far as we've ever gotten.
That's right. We can't see each other. We just know. We're just voices out here.
In fact, I didn't even know that this was an actual podcast. Like, I was just talking into the microphone one day. That's what happened. So, no one's gonna buy that.
No, I don't think so. Well,
hey guys, how's it going out there?
Yeah, welcome. We're excited this week. We're gonna talk about Cold War. It was a good episode.
The actual
I liked
subject? Yes, it was a great episode. It was a bottle episode.
Yeah, they were stuck. They were on the submarine the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this before. This was the return of the Ice Warriors, and I think they really, truly made the Ice Warriors frightening.
Oh yeah. I mean, I never really saw the old stuff, so I don't know what they were like. But I thought he was as scary as a Cyberman. You know, like just kind of an unstoppable force. You know, I was like, he was badass.
But when he was in the vent and you just saw like his face and he was talking, that was creepy.
Yeah,
I got chills.
Well, it was pretty good. I'm going to recap it real quick, and then we'll talk about some details. This is going to be a real quick recap because really, it was because it was a bottle episode, nothing really much happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It could have been a better bottle episode. It could have.
Yeah.
Had it taken place in a bottle. Like the city of Kandor from Superman. It could have been a bottle episode. That would have been awesome.
There you go. That's good.
I don't think they're capitalizing much on this idea here.
No. Somebody, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so it starts out, they're in the North Pole in 1983, and these Russians have found this, what they believe to be maybe a mammoth in a block of ice, and some idiot decides to thaw him out on the submarine, and so he's running amok on there, and then the doctor and Clara show up. They were planning to go to Vegas, but they are in the wrong place, and so they just show up on the submarine, and so that they find out he's an ice warrior, and then the doctor finds out that this ice warrior is not just any ice warrior. He's like the general of, or like, 5-star general, like the most decorated, most honored ice warrior ever. So it's like a really big deal,
right?
Yeah, and so then they tie him up.
Ice warrior.
Yeah. They tie him up, and then but then he escapes because he like gets out of his armor. So he's like he's out of his armor and he's crawling around the ship. And they're chasing him around, and eventually he's like about to set off the nukes, and then he doesn't, and then the ice warriors come. The spaceship comes because he sent out a signal, and then pulls the submarine out of the water, and they beam the guy aboard, and then they're save the world and all that stuff. So yeah, that was it.
Okay, I gotta ask you this question. When the old man sat down in that little roundel area, it's open behind him, were you thinking that he was just gonna get snatched up at any point in time and just like pull through that? Because I was like sitting there waiting for it.
Oh
like,
yeah,
God,
like
the old man's gonna die.
Yeah, he could have been. He sucked in when his feet and hands like going in last. Like whoa.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it would happen.
Yeah,
I underestimated Moffat. His ability to put tension there.
Yeah. Interesting thing about this episode was like they start off like before the theme song. There was like he was thawing him out, and then the hand bursts out and grabs him. And then, like,
Right.
it comes back, and right away, it's like, oh, God, the Ice Warrior's, like, messing shit and stuff up, and he's like, oh, God, you know. It's like, action right away, you know. I figured, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen in the episode, but I thought maybe, you know, it wouldn't really, like, he would just be on the ship for a while, and, like, nothing would really go down until maybe halfway through. But it was already going down.
Right.
When they got there.
No, this was one of those episodes. They threw you in right away.
Oh, yeah. And then I liked that the Doctor and Clara, they were going to Vegas, and it just reminded me of all those other times that he got it wrong.
What did he do to the TARDIS? What did he say? It was the emergency system?
Yeah, it was the HADS that he updated. It was the, oh, geez.
Right.
I don't remember what the HADS stood for, but it was like an emergency thing where it relocated.
In case there's trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
So the TARDIS disappears.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just leaves them there.
Yeah. And then, the one funny part about this was they think maybe they're enemy spies or something. So they search them, and then for some reason the Doctor has a Barbie on him. I'm trying to wonder, what does this Barbie mean? I'm like, they didn't, because other than it just being kind of funny that he had a Barbie on him, I'm like, okay, maybe that'll come up later. Like, maybe that, you know, it'll be a thing later in the episode. And it never was. So I'm wondering, you know, is it going to come up again? Which would be weird, but it could.
Mm-hmm. Well, the old Doctor Who, Tom Baker, one of my favorite stories of his, Genesis of the Daleks, when he gets captured by the Thals, they have him turn out his pockets, and so he just keeps throwing stuff on the, you know, there's a yo-yo, and there's a bouncy ball, and some jacks, and there's some change, and there's some, he just keeps dropping stuff there, and it keeps going on and on and on, until the guy, like, grabs him and, like, takes the stuff out. I like those jokes. It's good to see that kind of a callback to that.
Yeah. And then he gets it back later and he like kisses it.
Aww. Yeah. Maybe it was Rose's Barbie doll. Maybe.
I was thinking, well, because it was blonde, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's like maybe there's something about Rose there or something. But I'm just grabbing for anything there. I think it was just a silly Barbie now, if you think about it. Yeah. So we get to the part where it's the Ice Warrior, you know, is revealed, and his name is Skaldak, and Skaldak. And the way the Doctor reacted, at first I was mad because I was like, oh, is this like something I should know from the old show? Like, because he acted like maybe he's met him before, which he had, but like I thought maybe he'd met him before on the show, and it was like a big deal. But then he goes on to explain, he's like, no, he's just a great warrior, and it's like a big deal. It's like you have the president of the Ice Warriors captive, you know.
Mm-hmm. I kind of there was something I noticed about this episode. Skaldak was not afraid of the Doctor, and it's interesting that you have his Skaldak species have faced the Doctor before. He's a Time Lord. The Doctor even drops the name, you know, I'm a Time Lord. Skaldak doesn't blink. This is the first time I've seen an intelligent monster who should know about the Doctor and the Time Lords just not care.
Oh, yeah.
And usually that's a big enough thing. I'm a Time Lord. And they go, Time Lord?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Matt Smith doesn't even say... He doesn't say Time Lord that often. He doesn't. He's just like, I'm an alien from outer space. Whereas David Tennant was like... all the time. He was like, the curse of the Time Lords, you know. He's like, I'm a Time Lord. That's
just randomly walk up to people. Hi, would you like a coffee, sir? Welcome to Starbucks. Hi, I'd like a coffee for the curse of the Time Lords.
I'm a Time Lord. I can't drink coffee. Yeah, but so he doesn't say it.
A great war between my people and coffee.
He doesn't say it very often, so he
doesn't.
So for him to say, you know, what he is, and then like, and that's interesting too, because Clara, that'd be like the first time she knows, unless he's told her off screen or whatever. But
Right.
for her to hear that, I didn't really see her face if she reacted to that or not. But yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. It was almost like Skaldak knew who the Doctor was. Like not only they'd met before, but it was just like, he like kind of called him Doctor right away. Usually they're like, "Who is this man?"
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, "Doctor, what would you do?"
Yeah.
So.
Well, and maybe that's just because Skaldak knew. Maybe he did, and he just didn't care.
Oh yeah. Well, they seem to be pretty. I mean, the thing about these Doctor Who monsters is you have the Daleks, and you have the Cybermen, and you have the Ice Warriors, and they all seem to be like sort of heartless, like no emotions. They're just like, I don't care, I'll just just automated machines, basically, all of them just doing what they believe and what they programmed to do. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the classic Doctor Who. Classic characters, classic villains.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I do too. Speaking of like classic stuff, like this is a classic comedy bit here where they're like, well, I can't go in there, or well, you can't go in there. Well, you can't go in there either. And she's like, I'll go in there. And then he's like, you? No, definitely not. No, definitely not. And then like cut to her going in there.
The only thing that scene missed was when she said, I'll go, if they all did that slow head turn.
Well, they did have a thing where it's like they were like, well, you're not going. Well, you're not. And then all of a sudden you hear this like, ahem.
That's right.
And then they turned around and she was there, standing there.
I love her character. I really do. And I love this stuff with the Doctor and her.
I do. And that's what makes me hope that she doesn't turn out to be some crazy thing, like she's Rose's daughter or something weird. You know what I mean? I hope
she's actually the Doctor's 12th incarnation.
Right.
What?
Yeah. I hope I like her as her own character, so I'd love for her to be her own person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, she's in the next season, so
Yeah.
Hopefully that means something.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll since we know she's in next season, I wonder if they'll stretch this mystery out and not really answer it till next season. I hope. Probably. That's what Moffat likes to do to us, but.
Aren't we still trying to figure out how silence will fall?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Stop giving us more mysteries. Solve one first, please.
So
they gave us River Song.
So he did. That was good. So the part where he gets out of the armor, I was not expecting that at all. Mm-hmm. Like,
right?
I didn't know much about the Ice Warriors, obviously, so I didn't know. Like, I kind of figured that was maybe armor, but I thought that was just how they looked. Like, I thought that was their skin,
Right.
So then it was like, he's out of his armor. I was like, what?
Well, and I you're right. I mean, I've never seen the ones with the Ice Warriors. I'm pretty sure most of it doesn't exist, or any of it. I don't think any of it exists anymore. The episode with
I think there's some 2. I know there's some 2, and I think there's some 3 with some Ice Warriors.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was pretty crazy.
Great
that was
episode.
A good plot twist. I didn't see that. There's usually something that they don't show in the credits, or that you think what the episode's going to be about. You're like, okay, so they're on a submarine. There's an Ice Warrior, and then there's usually like one other thing that happens that you're like, oh well, I didn't know that was going to happen too. And this was it. It was like, oh, by the way, he's going to get out of his armor and he's going to be like a creepy lizard thing running around. Yeah.
Right. Now, what do they call them? The Ice Warriors. It's cold outside of that armor. Lamest joke ever. Glad I could participate.
Yeah, way to go.
You're welcome. You're welcome, world.
Here's one of my big questions. How is the TARDIS translating? It's gone. They have this. They have this whole scene. Well, no. Let me let me say what I think is going on because I may be able to answer my own question. I know in Angels Take Manhattan they said, "Oh well." Rory was like, "How come I can read that vase?" And River's like, "Well, the TARDIS translation, it kind of sticks around with you," or something like that.
Yeah,
got it.
Well, they did the same thing with the Doctor and Rose when they lost the TARDIS and the Satan pit, that kind of stuff. So I mean, once you get it in you, I guess it kind of stays around.
Yeah, and I figured, I thought maybe it was because Amy and Rory, they've been traveling so long with the TARDIS, but I felt like. With Clara, it was like she's only gone on one trip, How does she, But I guess the TARDIS doesn't hate her that much.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, there wasn't much translating that needed to happen. Those Russians spoke perfect British the entire time. It's incredible. Well,
they had that funny. They had that scene where. It reminded me of the Fires of Pompeii, where Donna's like, "Am I speaking Latin right now?" He's like, "Yeah." So, and she's like, "Am I speaking Russian? How do I know how to speak Russian?" Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny that they kind of had that. There were a lot of parallels in this one too. Another parallel I thought was when Clara was like, she's like, "Well, this doesn't happen though because the world doesn't end in 1983 because I'm alive."
Right.
And it reminded me of the Shakespeare Code where Martha's like, "Can we do something? Because, I don't want to, because..."
Right. What if I step on a butterfly? What have you got against
butterflies?
Right, yeah.
So there's that whole, histories in flux thing, which...
What if I accidentally kill my great-great-great-great-granddad? Are you planning on it? No. You're fine with that. But yeah, that goes all the way back to Rose with Eccleston.
Oh yeah,
when they're the Christmas Carol episode, or
Charles Dickens,
Charles Dickens episode. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so that's interesting. I think, and one thing I don't know if it was in the show or if it was an interview or something, but somebody had said that now that the Time Lords were all gone, or like things didn't used to be that way. It was like there were rules, like you couldn't do certain things. But now that the Time Lords were gone, those rules weren't like enforced as much. So it was possible for somebody to go back in time and set off some nukes and destroy the world or something and change the future.
Well, right, and that was a big thing too, because the Time Lords could just pluck you out of time. They did it to the Doctor a couple times. They could just kind of take you wherever you are. They can just zap you out of time and put you somewhere else. So the Time Lords were always watching. Yeah. No, they're not.
Which, as silly as they look with their cloaks and everything, the more I hear about the Time Lords, I'm like, man, I wish they were around. They would be super cool. You'd have a lot of scenes where he would go back home and like there'd be some sort of high council and stuff like that. I think that would be neat.
But he's just gonna pop around for tea or something. Whoa, wait a minute. Why would he go back home?
Yeah, you get a lot. Yeah. Let's see. One funny. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I'm glad the Time Lords aren't around because I've seen a majority of the episodes with them and they're great. Don't get me wrong, but the Time Lords are dicks and they're dead for a reason.
He was the only. He was the only one who was nice enough.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So
there was one funny part where, it was funny to me because it was super cheesy, but where he was like, he's out of his armor. It's like, he said it's something like last resort, you never, it's like dishonorable to be out of your armor. And then it's this like real dramatic turn to the camera and he goes, he's got nothing left to lose. Just it was just this real slow turn, and the lights were really dim. I was like, "Oh man, that was hilarious."
That. Well, yes, it's so true. I think that's one above. I'm just 2 days away from retirement in classic action movie cliches.
Yeah. The one funny part about this too was where he was like, all right, Clara, stay put. And she's like, I am. And he's like, well, okay, good. He didn't know how to react to that.
Right.
You know, he finally found somebody who would stay put. And he didn't know what to...
That's unique.
Well, it's funny because it reminded me too of when Clara in the Snowman said it's smaller on the outside. It was like totally different from what he was expecting. So it's like this time around, he tells the person to stay put, and she goes, okay.
Sure.
And he's like, what? No, wait.
I really want him to get used to this, so when later on, when he regenerates and has a new companion, they'll do the exact opposite, and he'll go, I miss it when they paid attention.
Yeah. One really cool part was he gets his sonic screwdriver out, and it's red. Like, he turns the red settings on, which is really neat because that's a throwback line. Well, he doesn't say that, but it's red, so that's kind of a throwback to the library episodes with River, where she's talking to the doctor. She says, use the red settings. He says, it doesn't have red settings. Or, you know,
right.
Well, use the dampers. It doesn't have dampers, yeah, so he uses the red setting. I was like, oh, cool, you know.
I'm kind of excited to see the dampers now.
Yeah, me too. What are those? I don't know. They make everything wet.
So, there's this. No.
Took you a minute.
I'm running slow tonight, people.
I have to say I was disappointed. I have to say I was disappointed with the CGI head. I didn't think it was very impressive.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like it might have been better with as a person with prosthetics on or makeup or something.
Oh,
I don't know. That's just how I felt. I don't know. It just felt like
this is,
especially after all the really cool stuff they did in the last episode with know all the
they
the
blew their
sun
budget
and all that
last
stuff.
episode.
What?
They blew their budget last episode. What did you expect?
Yeah, they must have. Yeah.
It's like, okay, guys, we're going to do a bottle episode, and it's going to be on a submarine, and we're going to do the Ice Warrior, but we're not going to actually move the suit. We're just going to he'll be in the air ducts. We'll just hear him. Oh, that's great. We can get away with such little cost, and we're not going to pay anyone to do a Russian accent. They're going to speak perfect British. Genius.
And they're like, oh wait, change of plans.
That's all I've got.
Change of plans. We go. They want to see his face. No, we don't have any money left. We spend it all on the sun.
Bob and do a screen capture.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. He looked like he looked like Randall from Monsters Inc.
Oh my god, he looked like Randall from Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's because that's what he was. He was Randall.
It's Randall.
He found a door that opened up to a submarine.
It was his nickname, Skulldeck.
Skulldeck, otherwise known as Randall.
Randall.
I really wanted Skulldeck to have like this really ordinary first name, like Jim Skulldeck.
The third,
or whatever the Ice Warrior version of whatever the Ice Warrior version of Jim is, or Tom, or Bill Skulldeck. for all your used car needs.
Come on now, the crazy Bill Skulldeck.
Price is so low, you'll swear you're at the North Pole. Bill Skulldeck.
No, when you're so low, you'll swear you're at the South Pole. The South Pole.
South Pole, right.
Speaking... So,
Bill Skulldeck.
So at the end, there was a really interesting moment, I thought, where she hugs him, and then she's like, so saving the world, huh? Or save the world, that's what we do. And then it was this shot where they were like, I swear I thought they were going to kiss. Like, their faces were so close together.
They do that a lot, though. Have you noticed?
Yeah, did you?
Those two.
Yeah, I don't know. It was this like.
As possible.
It looked like they were gonna kiss, and I thought, oh, they're gonna kiss, and then they didn't. I was like, oh, well, that was kind of.
And they didn't.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, they can't kiss because then what? What about River?
Well, right.
He's married.
Right. So.
Theoretically. I mean, she is in prison. Is he waiting for her, or?
Well, she could be any point in time. It's not really.
Right.
She could be in prison, out of prison.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't have to be. Oh, doctor.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows what kind of relationship these two are gonna have? If it's gonna be romantic at all.
Right.
Because
sometimes he acts like her father. Sometimes he acts like he's teaching her, like a father teaches a daughter.
Right. Because there's those scenes where it's like, she's like, how'd I do? And he was like, perfect. You did perfect, And just like, and again, he's really protective of her, like I said last week.
Yeah.
So there is like this protective, paternal instinct there. But then they kissed. Well, they didn't kiss, but the other Clara kissed him. So
right,
and they still kind of
thought.
Well, right, and they still kind of flirt. This time around. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. I think it's like once you find.
All right, so I have a.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a thought, and it's nagging at me.
Is it theory time?
What if? Yeah, kind of. It's Matt's crazy theory time. Okay, so we know that David Tennant and Billie Piper come back as the Doctor and Rose in the 50th anniversary. The only way for that to happen would be the walls of reality start falling down. Oh, right?
Well, either that...
To bring them over from
that's
the other
it.
universe?
Like, either he's 10-2 and the walls of reality are falling down, or he's actually just 10 and it's like... It's a point in like season 2 or something when him and Rose were traveling around. But let's assume it's 10-2 and the walls of reality are coming down.
Okay. If the walls of reality... Good, that my theory holds up. If the walls of reality are coming down, maybe those other two Claras were from other dimensions. Like alternate reality Clara.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's all I got. That was it. That was the whole theory.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm adequately explaining two things away.
Yeah, I'm thinking story-wise, they might like wrap up this if they wrap up this mystery about Clara by the end of the season. Then I think the 50th anniversary is going to be kind of a standalone. It might be a standalone story and not like still part of its thing.
Sure.
So there's that. But here's the really interesting thing. And we'll talk about this more when we get a few weeks later. This episode coming up called The Crimson Horror. There's this Clara. She's got a different hairdo. Now, I'm thinking, okay, maybe she just like got her hair did for
she's the fourth Clara
for going to this thing, or something happens to her in Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, and she's like, and then so he loses her again, and then he finds another one, which I don't know. I think that would be ridiculous, but
I'm really hoping she doesn't die. Like, I
me too.
Like her.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that it's just because Rose in The Unquiet Dead, Rose gets all dressed up for the time period. So I'm hoping like maybe that's just what's going on.
Right.
And she got her hair did, got her curled and stuff.
She got her hair did.
The interesting thing about that episode, is Madame Vastra, Jenny, and Strax are going to be in that one, and they met the other Clara, so it's going to be interesting for them to see this new Clara,
Right.
So that'll be kind of cool.
Oh, I wonder how they'll respond to her.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that'll be a cool thing when that comes up. I liked in this episode. I liked in Cold War. I like when she was singing "Hungry Like the Wolf." Like she's just like, I'm not going to sing it, and then it's like this real tense moment. She starts singing. That was pretty funny.
Well, but it's the catchiest song ever.
Yeah.
I started singing it after that episode.
I did too. I was like, I had it in my head.
Hungry like the wolf.
My last part about this one that I liked was his face at the end. He's like, it's in the South Pole, and he's like, and they're like, oh, they're like, can we get a ride? Like, whatever. And then they're laughing at him, and he kind of does this face, like,
I loved that.
I did too. It was really funny.
Yeah.
So all in all, I thought it was pretty good.
Definitely not the best. So best so far was the second.
I would say. Yeah. I don't know. I really.
However,
yeah, I would say I really liked the first one, so the Bells of St. John. I thought that one was really good.
That was great.
It's hard to pick so far. I guess maybe I would say the Bells of St. John. But yeah, this one definitely wasn't. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it was good. I liked it, and the whole stuff with the Ice Warrior coming back, that was really interesting and really cool to see. So yeah.
Yeah, I liked seeing that villain. I think this is a good revival for that character.
Yep.
So there you go.
Woohoo.
So I guess now
it is time.
Everybody knows what time it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for. Oh, I got that promo. Okay. That wore me out.
Got that out.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
So
took a second.
The promo is for next week's episode called Hide.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and short title. I like that. Hide.
Yes.
It's easy to type.
Considering how many long titles we got coming up.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So this one, all I remember from the promo is the thing that stood out to me the most was at the end of it, you see him running around in that field. And we had talked about that when that promo had come out, like for the rest of this season, that we had thought maybe that was the finale, like it was the Fields of Trenzalore or whatever,
right?
Or he's in the woods.
Clearly it was not. It's coming up and high.
Yeah, it's for this one. It's where he says, "I'm the doctor and I'm afraid." So
I'm real that the doctor doesn't get scared, and it's really kind of cool to think about. There's going to be something so terrifying.
Yeah, something that's so terrifying that's not even it's not even something that would be finale worthy. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a new monster or something that's going to be so scary that it's going to scare the doctor. Yeah,
correct. I'm really because I like the idea of a ghost story. Yeah. And anytime they've done ghost stories in the past, they haven't been ghosts. I really want this to be a ghost. I want it to be scary.
Well, if I know anything about Doctor Who, it's not going to be a ghost. It's going to be something that they thought was a ghost.
Right.
Turned out to be something else.
Well, yeah.
It's going to be an alien from another planet who has certain... Well, who knows? It could be anything. We'll see. But yeah, I like this idea.
It could be a ghost.
I like this idea of this haunted house and this psychic or whoever and this other guy who are trying to find the ghost.
Right.
And
it's very Ghostbusters.
Well, yeah. Well, I also speaking of that, I also like there's some promo pictures of it where he's strapping on some kind of backpack or something. Claire's helping him, and it just reminds me of Tenet when in. Army of Ghosts.
I'm afraid of ghosts. I am really excited for this episode. I wasn't when it first came out, the trailer came out for it, when they were talking about it. I was like, I just don't know. I'm not really into, I don't want a period piece. I want more space stuff, more science fiction-y stuff.
Well, when the whole list of all the episodes came out, I'm like, okay, well that one will be all right, you know. But now that we're to it, like we've gotten to it, I'm like, okay, now I'm actually really excited for it because it's gonna be something different, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's what this has the potential to be, is just very different. So
yeah. So it sounds really cool. Anything else you can think of from the trailer or the promo?
I mean, yes and no. I'm excited. I'm really excited. You don't see a lot of episodes like this, and you don't see a lot of it coming from, you know, Moffat's time. So this will be good.
Yeah, it will be. Well, I believe we have talked about as much as we could talk about this one.
It's true though. Like, it was a good episode, but it's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly him running around the thing, and then we're chasing him around. So yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was exciting.
Yes, definitely. Worth a rewatch.
Oh yeah, and I had fun. I had fun doing the podcast with you.
Well, thank you. So to everybody out there, hey, thanks for listening. Hope you're all enjoying this, and by all means, tell us stuff you want to hear about. Tell us, you know, what you think of our podcast. Hopefully you're enjoying Doctor Who this time around as much as we are, and I guess we will see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, everybody. Have a good one.
You guys, you go get a car from Bill Skaldak right off the I-95.
Oh, man.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.